Hey guys, welcome back to Let's DIY This. Today we're going to make our own 18650 charger from a phone charger. Yes, you heard it right, from a phone charger. Okay, so some days ago, I actually bought one of those 18650 chargers from AliExpress. Now, I was thinking, how hard could it be to actually make one of these chargers? Obviously, I don't have a 3D printer to print this, but I still have confidence in how to make one. So this is how it works. So you basically have a battery that could either look like that, or you have a battery that might look like this. In either way, you insert it, and then the charger is going to tell you, once it connects, if it's full or if it's empty. Now, as you can see, those are quite full, I suppose, or maybe it's just checking because it's not powered, but we're going to find that out. So before we get started, we want to take a look on the inside of the charger because that's where the magic happens. This is basically just a connector that connects the battery circuitry from the positive and negative leads that come from this wire. We can see the ratings on here. It takes 4.2 volts and 500 milliamps. So that's the charging rate for this battery charger. And I just thought, hey, we have a phone charger. This one is already broken. We have a phone charger and it's rated for much higher than that. So this one is charging at 5 volts and 2 amps compared to this one, which is at 4.2, 500 milliamps. So this one is charging significantly faster than this one. Before we get started, we might actually need a set of knives to pry the sides of this charger. Something to peel in. You can use a screwdriver for this. I'm going to use some tweezers. And of course, you need a screwdriver. So that's what we need right now. First, we're going to take a look for this charger, this Chinese charger, how it works. So let's get this in there, and we take the screw out. And this might take some force, but it will come out like you see. Okay, so basically the connector plugs into your outlet socket, and it's connected with those two pins. That's where it gets the power from. You can see those metal tab thingies here. That's where it connects into, I suppose. So let's take a look here. Yeah, that's where it connects into. Might actually give it a little bend here because I opened it with force, so it's a little bit straight. Okay, so this is the LED that changes color. I suppose it's orange and green. I mean, I never had any empty batteries. It never told me it was empty. As far as I know, it's just always green, but it charges. So what is to see here actually? Well, if I'm honest with you, there's not a lot to see here. This is a transformer. It changes the power to whatever you need, and I suppose that's 5 volts, or 4 volts in this case. I can follow the circuitry. It's kind of familiar to what this circuitry will look like, except for the for this part over here, which is like to power the LED on depending on the voltage. So that's what happens here. But still very interesting to see. So now that we know this, there's actually not a lot going on here. So let's just get started with the USB charger for the phone, and let's reassemble this. pretty sure it has to. There we go. The trick here is to make this fall on the inside, which is quite simple actually. Like that, you click it, then you get the screwdriver and the screw, and we're gonna screw it back in. I actually bought this screwdriver from AliExpress. It's a automatic screwdriver. You have buttons on it. Also gives you a light. So it actually is really nice to have. Alright. Now that we have that, we can focus our attention on this charger. And this charger is actually a phone charger. And so we're gonna use this to charge those batteries. I don't know if they're empty. We could check. I will get a multimeter out. So let's see if they're empty or emptier. So this one is about 3.30 and this one would be significantly higher, I suppose. Yeah, this one is 4 volts. So this one is definitely more empty than this one. This one is actually full. Let's say 4 volts is full. And this one is supposed to be 330. So you can see here on the battery, it's rated for 3.7 volts, which actually turns out to be 4 volts in this battery. So it seems safe to charge all of the batteries at 4 volts for the purpose that we're gonna do, because I just charged this with the original Chinese charger. So I suppose all of those batteries can be charged up to 4 volts, but for safety we're just gonna use 3.8, 3.9 volts because that's what these things are rated for. Alright, with that said, let's get this out of the way and let's try to open this. So the way I'm gonna open this is I'm gonna use a knife. You could use many different tools, but I know there is some glue that keeps things inside glue so that children don't actually open it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna loose it up, and I'm gonna pry it with a knife. Of course you could do this with a kitchen knife or anything else you have in there. Now because this side is already open, because I already tried to do this, what I'm gonna show you guys to make sure it actually is working like that, you can just go into the sides and just wiggle back and forth, wiggle back and forth. Now this might take some time, but clear it in the chassis and it removes it. You see how this side is almost as tight as it gets. So insert the knife. Try not to step yourself. Keep your fingers under the knife and make sure it's, safe for yourself first. I'm confident doing it, but obviously I haven't done this knife before. As you see now, the line is getting wider, so it's actually starting to move up. Just move it on. Top side is too, as well as the bottom side. So that it is getting more up in the way, so you can see it here. Yeah, this side is not getting solid. Right, so now all we have to do is use the pins in the jet tube. Don't be scared to use force because just try to use the chest. Be careful with how much force you put on it, but this is oh, yes. We have one side open, guys. Look at that. Okay. We have one side open from the bottom. We can fix this. Some hot air or glue will seal this so that your children are safer I wouldn't say this is the safest way, but definitely it will be safer. So yeah, this is how this charger works. It has also those metal pins, but we're going to get this out now. There we go. So now you see we opened this charger, and this is the insides of the charger. As you can see, again, there's a transformer, but here voltage is regulated much more than on the other one, and voltage isn't checked. For us, that doesn't really matter, because once the battery is charged to 3.8 volts, it should not really matter to us as long as we know that it is full. So we're gonna make a charger and take an assumption that it takes about 1 hour to charge, and we'll look onto that. So this one connects like this, and we don't have to do anything for that. All we have to do is later when we reassemble it, we're going to push this in here like so, and then we're going to insert it back into the case. Actually, I might be wrong. Could be like this. Anyway, we're gonna insert this later back into the case, and that will be it. So this port is actually very useful for us because we need wires to escape from here. Now those wires are actually very safe to touch because the voltage is very low. Of course, keep it out of reach of your children when you're doing this. Just put it somewhere on your workbench and charge the batteries. That would be the best case scenario for this. Alright, let's go to the next step. The next step is to find out how this works and where the voltage is at. So obviously this USB is giving us the voltage that we need. So on this print, on this very print, we're going to find out where does the voltage come from. And I would say, see here, this goes down so I can see two holes in here. I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's two holes right there. 1, 2. Let me zoom in if I can. There's two holes there. Sorry for the wiggle, guys. Okay, so there's two holes here. You can see the two holes, and there's this metal clampy thing, and you can see they'll both go down. So now when I turn this around, you can actually see physically that this USB port is going down here. Those two are holding the USB port, and you can see this one is connected. So I suppose that this one is the negative, negative, negative. So here's another line that's quite big. So I suppose that this is the positive. Now we're going to go to the next step with this. We are going to check the voltage first before we continue further. So to do that, I'm going to get some different tools in here. So of course, we're gonna need the multimeter again. And we're gonna need some wire to attach to the leads of that, just to power it on, basically.
I happen to have a test wire. You can make this yourself if you know how to splice a wire. I have one end that I insulated, one end that goes into my power, and I have one end that I'm going to connect to the board. To do this, we need a soldering iron. I don't have a soldering iron, I have a soldering station with a soldering iron and a heating gun. You could have a soldering iron, that would be perfectly fine. So let's connect this up here. This one is set to 500 degrees Celsius. If you're in America, You can use Google to translate 500 Celsius to Fahrenheit, because I really don't know what is that in Fahrenheit. Of course, we need some soldering tin. Just give it a little bit of time to heat it up, because obviously it works better when it's heated up. We're going to use a wick. This is optional, guys. This is optional. I just like to clean whatever I put on here later, so that it's like original, so that it fits back in the case. I'm more sure to do this with a wick than without one. I actually might have something to cut that wick away, because once the tin dries up here like this, it gets hard and you need to cut it. You can use scissors, of course, but you're going to use scissors and they're going to get bold. So I'm going to use this tip. It's very, very thin, very small. I'm going to clean it a little bit here. So, okay, this is how small it is. So first off,
I don't know if you guys can read it, but this one says NL. Let me zoom in. All right, there we go. There you see the N and the L on the edges where I'm going to solder, which is right here. This is the L, this is the N. The N stands for neutral and the other one stands for live. So basically neutral is the wire that's brown or black, and the live wire is the wire that that is blue or red, and that's basically all we need to know. So we're going to attach a little bit of solder onto here so that we can attach our test wire. All right. Remember the neutral and live, those are very important. So live is blue in my case, and neutral is brown. It might be black and red for you. For me, it's blue and brown right now. So we connect one first. Obviously, this is just for testing, guys. You don't actually need to do this step if you know the accurate voltages and where it comes from. Give it a little bit of time. Okay, there it is. So we can power it off. All right. Let's create some space here on my desk. There we go. So now we have this charger connected to a outlet. Later we're going to build it back into the case using this, but for now we're using this. As you can see, the solder on those points, it got taken up. So later when we need to remove the wires, we need to clean it with this so that this guy can fit over it later on. So now we're going to the next step, which involves the multimeter. So we're going to find where does the power come from. Okay, let's go get started. I can see here the negative lead is going to this pad. It's going to travel through this pad. It's going to go here. I'm just going to do this a lot faster for you guys. So it's going to break through here. There's a line here, so it means it's separated. So it comes from here again. So we're going to go here. So this is actually swept around. So that would mean that this one is the positive. So let's take that assumption right there, that I found the positive. There's a lot of pins on here. Let me zoom in for you guys. I need to move this a little bit up, this one a little bit down. All right, so let's go focus on this guy. As you see, there's a lot of pins on here, and we're just going to go with this is the positive, and then I'm going to go with the negative on the chassis of the USB port. And as you see, I'm getting, well, 5 volts. My connection here is not the best, but it's giving 5 volts at this point. So let's see here. This would be the chassis. It's 5 volts. What about this? It's also 5 volts. Now this one is actually stable. So I'm gonna tap those two. This one is the positive, this one is the negative. It's going to give us 5 volts. So I have to move the camera again back to the soldering bench.
Okay guys, I just moved the camera once again to the other side of my desk. I'm going to create some more light for you guys so that you can see things a little bit better. Alright. Well, maybe not yet. Maybe this is better. Alright, so
we have this now soldered up, and we know what is the negative and the positive leads, which is very important. So now we're going to solder the wires that we are actually going to get the current from, that we are going to connect to these pads later. Now we're not going to use this because I want to keep the original. So we're gonna try to make something that does the same. How? I don't know yet. That's why this is DIY this, because we will find out a way to do it. So we're going to heat the soldering station up to 500 degrees. I always use 500 degrees because I think it's the easiest temperature to work with, and I feel comfortable doing so. If you want to go lower, you can do lower. If you guys want to buy a soldering iron, make sure it's rated for more than 30 watts. Like, if you have a soldering iron not rated for more than 30 watts, you're not going to be able to melt the tin very rapidly, and you know, sometimes the temperatures really doesn't really melt, and you're just putting it on there and waiting for forever. So basically, we reached the temperature. I'm just gonna clean the tip real fast here, and we're going to remove the wire now, because obviously we're done with that part. That's one. That's two. So we can disconnect the wire. We can take it away for now because we don't need it. We're just going to clean the tip again because it has a big blob of soldering. And as you can see, the pads actually got bigger. So now we're just going to make it smaller again. Actually, this might actually not really work because my tip is too small. So let's do this a little bit more different. Just gonna heat this up and spread it evenly. There we go. It's going to go to my soldering iron. So we actually don't need this soldering wick. If you had a bigger tip, then you could possibly do this. So for now, we're just gonna scrape it over. Make sure they're shiny, because shiny is good. Alright, so as you can see, the solder pads are now resoldered like the original state, and they're shiny like these. These are shiny. I can touch them, no problem. So yeah, we did that part. Now we're going to solder the wire. And the wires needs to go from this, let's zoom in, okay, so the wire needed to go, where's my tweezer, there, the wire needed to go from this pad here, which is the negative lead, to this one here, which is the positive lead of the USB port. Am I gonna keep the USB port? Yes, I am, because I don't think everyone has a hot air gun And even if you could do this with a soldering iron, it will take you a lot of time. So to save our time today, we're just gonna attach some wires. For now, we're just gonna use this wire. So the thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna splice the wire like so, and we're gonna take the red side off. Not all the way, just a little bit, guys. Let me zoom out for you guys so you can actually see what I'm doing. Okay, so we're gonna take this apart when it wants to come apart. And we're gonna squeeze it around just a little bit to make it more sturdy. Just like how everyone does this in the Philippines or elsewhere in the world. Okay, so we take it off, and the size doesn't really matter, guys. Like, these are roughly the same shape, and I didn't even measure it. So, okay, so we're gonna connect this guy to this one right there. So let's zoom in. Sorry for the wiggle. So we're going to connect this guy to this one right here. Right to this guy. So to do that, we actually need to make this even more shorter. It's really small, but that's all we need. So first off, to start, we're going to go ahead and solder a bigger joint here so that we can actually connect to it. Now, because this is connected together, it doesn't really matter if I make it bigger, because they are together anyway. Alright, so we're going to connect this guy to this guy over here. Sorry, like a little bit in now. Just going to try to connect those two together. So what I usually do is I make one hot and I bring it over, and then I solder them together. So let's see the connection here. Is it nice? Is it not touching anything? It is touching something. So we're just going to disconnect it now. Just the same procedure, we heat it up, and now we're just gonna make the wire a little bit different angle, coming from a different angle, so that it will not touch anything else. And that actually looks like a nice joint. Sorry guys, I had to take it off camera. I just had to see it with my own eyes first. But this is how it looks like. So as you can see, the wires are now connected together close by the USB port. So this is the positive lead, which is connected to this pin that you saw earlier. And this one is connected to the negative lead, which you guys also saw earlier. And I avoided all the other pins. That's the most important. Now this is actually a very thick wire. For this kind of voltage, you don't need a thick wire. But this is the only wire that I had around, and if you're coming from the Philippines, this might be the wire that you're going to use. Most of my viewers are from the Philippines as well as the Netherlands. But of course, we're growing. So let's clean this a little bit up here. We just did this, and now the part is to reassemble it. So as you can see, the USB port is right there, and the wires are coming out almost at the same angle. Like if you would put this straight, it's almost at the same angle, so that's fine. I'm going to zoom out for you guys. Whoops. All right. All right. So first things first, we're going to get through with the wire into the hole of the USB. And as we push this inside of it, we're going to check the orientation of the USB first, actually. Yeah, so if we push this inside of it, we can see that it's going to block the USB port. So this problem we would have expected because the wires are bigger. So we need to open up this portion of it. It actually needs more space, as we can see. So it might be a good idea to extract the wires from here. Now, we just burned into here. But I don't think that's gonna do enough for the clearance. So, like, these things happens, guys. You want to keep things original as much as you can, but of course this is a DIY. So sometimes you need to go different directions than you would have hoped. Which is fine, because at the end I'm still gonna have a faster charger than the original. So I'm completely okay with that. So let's make a hole right here. All right, it's time for another attempt. This way. That's almost right. It's getting closer. I think it's the top part now that's bothering. But yeah, this is a lot better. I actually feel comfortable doing this. Let's see here. Where's the tabs are right here. So as you heard the clicking sound, that means one side is in there. It's not the best, but I can live with it. So let's see if we can actually plug in something to the USB port. Let's see if we can put this in here. No. So we're gonna open this and we're gonna clear that a little bit of excess there. I was hoping to get away, but it would not. So we want to splice this wire, because obviously we're not gonna get a voltage reading if we don't. Just a little bit. Alright, so we just spliced the wire. I'm going to change position to the power outlet again. I'll be right back. Okay guys, I just changed my camera angle once again, and we have the charger here, which I'm gonna plug in into the power outlet, which I'm gonna show you guys right now. And we can just twist these wires for now, even when it's attached. We can do this before, we can do this after. It's kind of what you want. Let's zoom in a little bit. There. So let's see if we have a voltage reading. I'm going to connect the red one to the red wire and the black one to the black one. And as you can see, I'm getting 5 volts, which also means I could charge a electronic device at this moment. This is my microscope. As you can see, it's a microscope. I modified it. Don't look at it, guys. This is a terrible job. This is not how you should do it, but this is for my personal projects, like how I solder things. So it has an LED here which will go red once I connect the USB, so we can see it's charging from the USB. And there you have it. It's red. So at this moment we can charge a phone and we can charge a battery at the same time. So we know that this is working. We know that this belongs in here. And we just saw, I tried to get it loose from the socket and it let go. So what you can do is you can use, you can put it on the edge like this. You put it on the edge, not yet inserted, and you can put glue on there. That's step 1. That's how you seal that. So you're gonna use super glue, like super glue here. For your Filipino one, you might use Mighty Bun. This is basically the same for European. So what I'm gonna do here is just gonna go very fast. Add this to the side. Make sure it's a little bit thick. And then push it in. As you push that in, we give it some moment to dry. So for myself, as you can see, the casing is a little bit damaged. As this is glued, it will not go anymore. So what I'm gonna do for myself is I'm gonna use this heating gun for my soldering. Adjust the melting temperature of the plastic, which is about 100. First I'm gonna dry the glue, because this is a heating gun. It will help the glue to dry. We're just going to put this a little bit higher because the distance. All right. as you can see, as I go over this, we're gonna let that cool down. I'm gonna remove my hot air gun to let it be cool. And now we have the charger back in its original case. We don't have any sharp edges, and the USB works as well. So to show you guys that this does make a change, we're going to go back to the outlet. Okay guys, we're back here and we're ready and set to charge this battery. Remember, we started 3.30, so let's plug this in, see how it goes. So I just plugged it in. As you can see, it's not getting on fire or anything else. But we are going to check the voltage. There we go. 3.30. And this might actually take a while to charge. Okay guys, it's been 10 minutes, so we're going to disconnect this. And remember, we started at 3.30 volts. So I'm gonna remove the tape.
There we go. Make sure those never touch each other like this when it's connected, so to have a case will protect you from that. Throwing away the tape.
So, the battery. 3.30 volts. Now we're gonna check. It's been just 10 minutes, and remember, it's charging with 2 amps instead of 400. So let's see the multimeter here, what the voltage is now. Look at that. It's 406 in 10 minutes. It's fully charged from empty to full in 10 minutes. So you can charge your 18650 batteries a lot faster than those charges on AliExpress or anything else. Yeah. So I hope you like this DIY. And hope to see you next time.